I love to see it. Trump just outplayed China, right? And the Democrats, they are scrambling to try to spin it. You know, it's cool if they do it and if they want to do it, but it's a problem if Trump do it. But Trump just announced something major today that you got to hear for yourself real quick.
We achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the larger structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs because they don't want to pay 25, 50, or 100% tariffs, so they're moving them back to the United States. I spoke to Tim Cook this morning, and he's going to, I think, even up his numbers, $500 billion. He's going to be building a lot of plants in the United States for Apple, and we look forward to that. I really do look forward to that. But the talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories. They were having a lot of unrest. And they were very happy to be able to do something with us. And the relationship is very, very good. I'll speak to President Xi maybe at the end of the week.
The master negotiator right here. Only Trump was able to get this done right now. He's had a pretty busy week in terms of accomplishments. I mean, even beyond that, the trade deal he was able to strike with UK is staggering. But yeah, man, the Democrats, they are looking like this right now. Trump has China trade deal. Trump is lowering prescription drug prices. It's going to be a rough Monday tomorrow for the left, which, by the way, I was asking y'all the other day, which stock should I get? And y'all was telling me like NVIDIA and Tesla. I don't know much about stocks, man. I really don't. I kind of just put a little bit here, a little bit there. If y'all want to educate me in the comments, you know, we can learn together real quick. However, let's read a few of these comments. More winning. However, which is something we're going to cover in a second, there isn't a trade deal, just a framework for negotiations. Price control is a Bernie Sanders wet dream. You are embracing left policies. What I want to say is we got to get clear on exactly what's going on right now. The U.S. will cut tariffs on Chinese goods to 30% from 145% for 90 days. I think a lot of people skip out, just like I did, on that part right there, the 90 days part, which means this is temporary until they negotiate the final legalities of it. I don't know. China will also lower tariffs on U.S. goods to 10% from 125% for 90 days. This marks a significant shift in the trade landscape with both nations. Wow, come on, get it together. With both nations agreeing to terms that could reshape global markets. A new chapter in U.S.-China relations is here, and it is all systems go for growth and stability. This is huge. Long live legend Trump. Apparently, this guy's out here breaking barriers that can be broke back in the day. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who's privy to and with a great deal of understanding on the relations between. I know there's been complications there. I'll say that much. But just in 1 week, the UK trade deal, China trade deal, release of an American high. Let me just let Caroline Levitt do her job real quick, y'all.
Look, we told you the next 100 days would consist of peace deals and trade deals, and that's exactly what we have seen. The president announced last week the big trade deal with the UK, as you mentioned. Now we have a first deal with China. Just yesterday, the president announced the release of the last remaining American hostage in Gaza, Eden Alexander, who will soon be united with his loving family. God bless him. That's thanks to President Trump. We also negotiated a ceasefire with the Houthis, and President Trump was instrumental in negotiating a ceasefire with India and Pakistan. This is all in the last week. President Trump and his team are working incredibly hard on behalf of the country and the world to secure peace deals and trade deals. And don't forget, we have a tax deal coming too. The administration is working with Capitol Hill to sign the largest tax cuts in American history right now.
So this.
Look, we told you the next 100.
More winning, more winning, more winning, more winning, more winning, more winning, more winning. And I'm gonna clearly tell you why and show you why the Democrats are meltdown, and also prove to you their hypocrisy. But Donald Trump, man, he checkmated China. He didn't fold at all. And of course, he had all of the left-leaning legacy media and news outlets complaining and saying that this isn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna work. However, he's putting America first, and I can feel it. Somebody says border crossings down 93%. It's cheaper by $1.83 a dozen. Gas prices dropping. Inflation chilling at 1.35%. 93% of job growth. Private sector. Zelensky folds to the U.S. Ontario backs off too. Media crickets. Nothing to see here, folks. That's exactly the summary I would give to that. Now, wow, I wish they didn't have it. Anywho, just watch this masterful takedown of CNN as it pertains to. Let me say this. When did the left decide that they cared about small businesses, huh? Was it before or after Trump?
Is the 10% tariff that we're seeing in the framework for the UK going to be in place for the foreseeable future?
So we do expect a 10%.
Obviously, this is the UK talk tariff. My fault, y'all. I didn't add that context.
And baseline tariff to be in place for the foreseeable future. But don't buy the silly arguments that the U.S. consumer pays. Businesses, their job is to try to sell to the American consumer. And domestically produced products are not going to have that tariff. So the foreigners
So who's going to eat the tariffs?
Finally have to compete. They're going to have to compete. What happens is the businesses and the countries primarily eat the tariff. Look, we have 25% tariffs that were set under President Trump's first term. I don't hear a single word, not a single word about those tariffs. No consumers in America, those were set in 2017 and 2018. No consumers in America sit here complaining about those tariffs.
Well, prices
what happens is
prices have gone up for lots of reasons.
Currencies. Oh, no. Don't talk about the Biden inflation. That's another whole gig. When we left, when President Trump in 2019 had the lowest inflation in history. So
let me ask.
You know that this works really, really well. It works well. These countries and the businesses have to compete. Yep. They have to cut prices. You've seen it.
Of course, man. Blame Trump for what Biden did and completely ignore all the facts of the situation. Of course, man. Let me make this smaller. Let me see. I'll get a little smaller for y'all. Hold on. Oh, it ain't. This is as small as it's going to go. Anywho, attacking Trump's tariffs, Democrats focus on small business struggles. This is the angle real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to check out this article. The party is trying to leverage local entrepreneurs' concerns to argue that President Trump's tariffs are yet another grift to the rich and powerful at the expense of everyday Americans, which is complete. Doge disproves this. Hold on. Oh, man, I got to. Okay, the article. Okay, there we go. Since President Trump unleashed an on-again, off-again whiplash of global tariffs, congressional Democrats have worked to shine a spotlight on small business owners who say that the tariffs and economic tolls, say the tariff and economic toll are threatening their livelihoods. And videos on social media, local news stories, Capitol Hill news conference, and hearings, Democrats have spotlighted the plight of local entrepreneurs who describe being forced to raise prices. And then you find out that their headquarters is in Colorado. Anywho, Democrats have spotlighted the plight of local entrepreneurs who describe being forced to raise prices, lay off workers, freeze hiring, and slow sales to conserve stock as they absorb the impact of Mr. Trump's trade moves. And it's one way It is one way in which Democrats are trying to use the tariff issue in their broader strategy of portraying Trump and Republicans as catering to the rich and powerful at the expense of ordinary Americans. The focus comes as Democrats work to recast themselves as the party of working people and accuse Republicans, historically known as the party of business, of stifling American entrepreneurship, which is not the case, man. Listen, I feel for any small business entrepreneur or owner struggling and, having a lot of money, for tariffs and things of that nature. But let's be honest about why this is happening here. These folks weren't struggling when China was undercutting American manufacturers. When our economy was flooded with cheap labor and cheap goods. Tariffs could feel painful, yes. Y'all know I'm a human, I understand that, but it's also a part of resetting the playing field, so to speak, so America, we can stop losing. This isn't about hurting small businesses. It's about finally playing hardball with a country that's been exploiting us for decades. Here, you have Chuck Schumer, who got exposed in his own words as a hypocrite in 2005 and 2025. Y'all check out these clips. Y'all, do these Democrats realize that cameras exist?
The bottom line is very simple, Mr. President. The Chinese have enjoyed a huge trade surplus with the United States, as this chart shows. Every year, it gets larger and larger and larger. Much of that trade surplus is because the Chinese don't play fair. They don't let our goods into their country. I can tell you company after company in New York who cannot sell goods in China or can only sell the goods under certain conditions that make it impossible for them to sell them. Trump's tariffs are driving New York into a recession. Who knows there's real trouble ahead. Everything they're doing is very bad. Very, very bad. That's the only thing we do know, that things are very, very bad. And it's going to be worse for New York City and its suburbs. The bottom line is very...
And what were these Democrats with small businesses? We're going under from regulations, lockdowns, Bidenomics. Okay. Now, Ian Hallworth also highlighted what I had to understand earlier, which was, I'm sorry, but a 90-day agreement to reduce tariffs to rates higher than they were in January 2025, while the U.S. and China keep negotiating, is not a trade deal. Harsh reminder, but from my understanding is he's basically saying that if we don't get everything under wraps, things will go back to being higher than they was in January. I'm not afraid to admit that my level of understanding on this, it's like, yeah, explain to me though. But real quick, both China and U.S. historic New Deal. Here's what we need to know.
We have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect. It was a chance for me to meet the Chinese delegation. The vice premier I had previously had only a video call with. Ambassador Jameson was familiar with two of the other leaders on the delegation from his previous time. So there was very good personal interaction. Both countries represented their national interests very well. We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade. The U.S. will continue moving towards that.
All I can say is this is what I voted for, y'all. This is what I voted for. Not too much else I can add to here. Y'all be safe. Go check with somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life.